Hi, everybody. It's Lydia, and I'm here with a special guest, Ken Anderson. Hi, Ken.
Hi.
Yeah,
Good
thanks.
good morning.
Yes, good morning. It's almost it's 10:56. So I'm out here. I know you can't probably can't see us very well, but we're out at Lake Fork Farms, and that is a 50 something acre property that Ken has, and he's got some Airbnbs on it. But before I get started and let Ken talk about why I have him on the show today, I would like to make sure that y'all know, because I like to start off by saying how I know or don't know the guests that I'm interviewing and talking with. And today, this guest is extra special. So I met Ken, I was thinking about this like 22 years ago in 1999. It was the end of 99 or the beginning, wasn't it?
That's
99?
about right.
Yeah,
So 23
or
years now.
yeah, right before the Y2K. We were pre Y2K friends. So I met Ken when we were both really heavily involved in self development for ourselves, and um, it was instant connection. We were fast friends, and through the years, the 20 plus years, he's become and feels like a brother to me, and we have a great respect for each other, and we actually have a lot of things in common related to our personalities of how we love relationships and meeting people. We're genuinely curious about others, and so we like to meet people, and so that's something I've always really respected about Ken. And the other thing I've always really respected about him that we've been able to relate on is his pursuit of his own self and personal development. And I'll tell this quick story, and then I'll have you kind of introduce yourself, and then like kind of what brought you here to where we are today, this particular place.
Okay.
Um, so when I met Ken, he was living in Houston for work and opportunity, and his children were in another city a couple hours away. And I had such respect for him because every chance that he got, several times a week, he would actually drive the several hours, 2.5 hours or so, over to go see his kids and spend time with his kids. And while he was doing that, he was listening to, back then they were cassette tapes, and then they became
CDs.
CDs, and then now they're MP3s. So the world has evolved in the 20 years since we met. Now you can live stream from your cell phone, and
Whenever you
from yeah,
want.
Amazon Music from your playlist on your cell phone through your data plan. So anyway, I have always had a great respect for him, and he's always been someone who's been open to communication and dialogue, and that's something we've always enjoyed in our friendship. And so I was recently in the Dallas area for a convention, and he's about 90 minutes east of Dallas. And I took advantage of being up this north in the state and asked him if I could swing by and hang out with him for a day and his family. He's got a wife, which he'll talk about, and his children. So I'm here for just a few more hours enjoying nature before I go back to my cement city. But he left the cement city, what, like 15
10 years
10
ago.
years ago. So we're going to talk about that. But the reason that I have him on today is he's got a lot of things, wisdom and things to share. And I wanted him to share some of his thoughts and insights about what what you do to keep your life balanced and to have create joy and happiness in your life. And he's taking action steps to make that a possibility. And I want him to share some of his wisdom with what he thinks it takes to do that. And it's basically steps that you've already taken in your life and choose to take on a daily basis that you work with. So, I'm going to hand you the microphone. Would you go ahead and introduce kind of like where you grew up and kind of the background you had, and then how you developed into who you are, some of the core attributes about who you think you are, and then kind of how you got here, and then what your vision for Lake Fork Farms was and is, and what you continue to build here in the East Texas area. Do you want me to hold your drink?
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Hold my mineral
Yeah.
waters
Oh,
here.
yeah. Let's see if we can just get you there.
Okay. Originally from Southern California. Early childhood, we moved to Texas, and I finished growing up in in Northwest Houston, and then basically began a military career during college, and um, that was one of the paths that I took. During my military career, I got into real estate investing. I was always buying and selling things, just like you, and the garage selling turned into just buying and selling just more and more things, and I eventually got into real estate, and then commercial real estate. So I was always known for multitasking, and I enjoyed doing um, doing that while I was juggling a career. I was also getting ambitious with the real estate. During all that, I went through some hardship times and went through a divorce, and that pretty much helped me get to, I think, kind of a rock bottom state that caused me to look within more to see where all that came from and how that was caused, based from the decisions that we make. And so I started just looking within, and started seeking mentors to help me think through just how I saw life, and what I felt what I could figure out for myself just on the self improvement piece. That was So I turned it into a quest, and I had countless mentors that I'll call mentors, even though I haven't met very many of them. But their audio programs or in their books really helped me. And then there's common themes or common denominators among all of those, and I just helped continue to chip away at who I was as a person, that I just to help me hone me to be a highly effective person from A to Z, from health and relationships and prosperity and happiness, and all those
Didn't you
dimensions.
employ a lot of that? The Coast Guard wanted you to teach a lot of that, or was it the Navy when you
Um,
started doing the health stuff?
well, I began my military career in the Navy, and I did it for 4 years, but I transferred to the Coast Guard
Okay,
right
that's
after
when I met you.
shortly after we met, after I'd already been in the Coast Guard for nearly 10 years, actually.
Okay.
I put a total of 29 in.
Wow.
And, but yes,
Thank you for your service.
you're welcome. And thanks for saying that. But during the process of all of that, um, that internal evolution, shall we say, I immersed myself into Covey's 7 Habits, and I enjoyed it so much. An admiral.
Stephen Covey, for people who don't know what that is.
Yep, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, by Stephen Covey. Awesome book. There was an admiral that told all of us junior officers at the time, and he gave us a list of 4 different books to read for personal development for all of the junior officer corps. And he says, if you're too busy looking at basically going through those 4 books, if you can only have time for one, make sure that it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I took that advice and immersed myself into it, so much to the point to where people asked me to start teaching it.
Yeah.
Because I tried to live and breathe the 7 habits along with all the other information.
Yeah, you took it to heart.
Absolutely, and that was the whole intention, to do that kind of thing. But there's so
but
much.
You're also a natural teacher, so that's why they asked you to teach it.
Sure. Well, also as an officer, I mean, you have to speak and develop and mentor as well. So it just that was something that the Coast Guard core leadership principles were all a part of. The 7 habits, along with other, other wise practices to incorporate into all of that as well. So
So how did that get you to where you are here today?
it made me
Well, talk about moving here. First of all, you made a decision to sell everything in the cement city and create a life here of more peace and serenity and
Well,
balance.
my wife Karen and I had been talking about moving out of the city and buying a farm somewhere. So we eventually, and we wanted a farm on a lake, and we ended up moving up here to Lake Fork because we loved Northeast Texas and
Lots of trees.
the rolling hills and the better climate and the forest and just the topography and the nice popular lake. Just
Yeah.
all of those caused us caused us to say let's pull up stakes and move. So, and I was still in the military at the time, so I just started flying to work. When I got a new job assignment, so I'm like, it's time to move.
Didn't you have like a year though doing that, or 2 years before that was over? Of flying
Yes,
from Dallas.
I commuted from Dallas and flew to Key West.
Yeah.
My last 3 years, um, that
That's a
last
commitment
tour,
though. That's a big deal.
but I didn't want to be moving my family around. So it's like, I'm just going to have to start flying to work. And she's like, okay. So we started looking and found the property and jumped ship and left Houston in
And this is 51
2012.
acres. How many acres?
We're on about 55.
55 acres. And it's lakefront. This
Uh,
is a pond, but there's a lake behind us.
that's right. Yeah. Lake Fork is about a quarter of a mile behind us, but we have 3 ponds additional on this. This one here behind me is 2.5 acres. So it's a small lake, but it's very
Right,
deep.
but you have a dock into the lake.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Yeah. We have
it's not a quarter mile. That's just where people go, like the marina.
if you were to walk from where we're sitting
Oh,
on
there's
the
a
back
quarter
of the
mile to the. Oh, okay. It didn't feel that far.
approximately.
It feels closer.
Well, a quarter mile is not that. It's only it's not that many football fields, but there's 3 ponds on the property, so we have a lot of water on the property. But
Yeah.
I actually dug this
Yes, I
not that
know.
many
He's
years
so
ago.
intuitive. So yeah, so you're creating serenity, peace, income stream, and sustainability in this property.
Yeah, we're doing Airbnb.
Meaning people can come visit and hang out here too. Anybody in Texas or anywhere that wants to come visit Texas.
Yeah, we have friends and family come and stay all the time, just like what you're doing. We come now. You don't have to grab a couch if that kind of thing.
Well, I'm talking about paying business can come and pay to be here.
Yes, yes. In addition to friends and family, we have guests. Like we have somebody just flew in last night that's
From
staying with
Carolina.
us. Yes, yep.
Yes.
I have a South
Yeah, it's
Carolina
about
resident.
90 miles, like I said, east of Dallas. So she's on her way and probably get here any day, anytime now.
So, yeah, so to answer the other part of your question, that in addition to just getting out of the city and being more self-sustaining, we have cattle on the property and we have chickens and ducks and stuff, but we had a bunch of other animals as well. I mean, like I said, we've been here for 10 years, so we've sort of evolved the ideal animals. Some people prefer goats. We're not into goats. We prefer cows, that kind of thing. And but the second part of your question, in addition to just being highly effective and being financially independent, there's also a lot to be said for that I've learned through all my training and life's experiences is to what does it take to be happy? And that's the part that I really got serious about and that I really took it to heart and took it serious. So the past 20 years or so, I really put myself on a fast track just to do what I needed to do to make sure that I had quality of life from one day to the next. And that quality of life with the right attitude, you can be living anywhere. It's not like we had to leave the city because I really enjoyed my time in inner city Houston. I really did. And in my 30s, but I continued to daydream about being on a ranch someday. And so
Someday became now.
that's
Like when do you
that's
start
right.
living your dreams,
Well,
right?
exactly. You eventually have to pull the trigger. It's really fun and actually valuable to daydream. It's good to dwell on positive things that help us go to a place in our minds where you want to go to bring you peace. But if you continue to do that, sometimes we find ourselves we're 95 years old and we've never actually experienced what we daydreamt about.
It's
All the
always a dream.
That's right. So eventually we have to pull the trigger and make that happen. And so we did. And I was still in my 40s when we decided to do that because it was time. And getting a new job assignment with the military, where I had a choice. I had to retire, or I had to go ahead and
Commute.
or move. And so that was a good
Oh, like move to
catalyst.
Florida. Is
Yes,
that what you mean? That was a choice.
yeah, it was a good catalyst to cause us to say, let's start looking for properties. Because we no longer had to stay in the Gulf Coast area, because that's where most of my jobs were, in the
As the
Coast
Coast
Guard
Guard, yeah. But I
prior to
want to
that.
mention that you also thought ahead. You were forward thinking. You were like 2 to 3 years away from getting out of the Coast Guard. So you didn't want to, you wanted to start building and having time to build the future for yourself also. You didn't want to just go like piss away the days again, right? You wanted to build something to be running when you finally got
Ab-
free.
Absolutely. Any of the big goals in life we should prepare for. But I mean, there's a point in time where you have to say, I think I've prepared enough. You just need to jump, and we'll
Yeah.
figure the rest out on the fly spontaneously. And that's a part of life that can actually be exciting, because you're not sure what you're going to be doing from one day to the next. But if you have good goals that are carrying you into the right direction, prepare some of the way to where when you hit the floor running, when you arrive, everything is not completely brand new and it's just consuming you. Try to get the stars aligned to a decent amount. Take the time to get those stars aligned, and then act, and then you'll figure the rest out when you're in the middle of it.
And
And
the doors open, like the pathway opens when you take the
exactly,
step, right?
that's right.
Yeah, the pathway appears. It's kind of like that analogy in Raiders of the Lost Ark where he's on the cliff and he has to make a decision to step out there and then the pathway shows itself.
Yeah, I like the analogy when you're making goals. You prepare the best you possibly can, and you standing right on the edge of the cliff, right at the edge of the cliff. Instead of sit there and stand at the edge of the cliff and build your plane and device, whatever, all of it before you jump, get it pretty well built and moving in that direction, and then just jump. And then what do? You build your wings on the way down. And I love that analogy, and that applies to anything and everything that we do. I think, and that's exactly what we did. We figured it out when we
And you've
got here.
learned. You've learned with. I mean, you take a step and then you learn something from it, right? Because you're doing all this construction primarily by yourself,
That's right.
and you have a few experts do your architect or whatever. But I mean, you've built a house. You've built 3 cabins. You built a pool. You've dug 2 lakes, right? Your mother-in-law has a lake, doesn't she? This lake, I mean, a pond. And did you extend the one by your house, that pond?
Correct. So I that was just one skill. Well, there's two. There's engineering, but in addition to the engineering and heavy equipment operator, I'm also a veterinarian.
Yeah, you're
And
learning about animals.
an architect. I mean, a rancher is a jack of all trades. He or she really is, and that adventure, that intellectual adventure of hiring somebody or figuring out how to do it yourself, is what really pulls my trigger. I really like that.
I want to give you a little bit of a ego stroke. I mean, the amount of hard work that you do. I have a funny story to share. Like in the very beginning, they moved out here like in 2006 or 7.
12.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
We've been here for
That's
10
right. You
years.
were married in 2005. Okay, so 2012, and he was coming out here when he was still living in Houston. And I called him one day, and he had his earbuds on and his cell phone in his pocket, and he was literally digging the pond like by hand, dredging it. He's like, "Oh wait, I got to kill a water moccasin," and he'd get his shotgun, and and then he'd come back. He'd come back to the phone call. So he was just killing water moccasins just so they didn't proliferate.
Yeah, but we have little kids too.
Oh
So a
yeah,
lot of
that's
times I let the snakes
well.
go,
There were a
but
lot. There were a lot of them because this property had been.
well, this is a pond right at our backyard.
Yeah,
So it was close to that,
it
not
was
even a
too
stone
close
throw.
to the
Yeah,
family.
it's a little too close to home. Big
I
water
know.
moccasins have to go.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah,
We'll have to apologize into the snake world, not to
yeah.
you.
Okay. So anyway, that's. I mean, you're just a multitasker. That's your your trademark is being a multitasker. And so let's talk before we kind of wrap things up. I want to talk about what you feel like are the keys to a daily practice that makes your life happy, healthy, and agile for vitality into your golden years? Like, what do you think the formula is? How do you live your life?
I don't think it's just your golden years. It's all
No,
of
I
your.
mean like to go into the golden years. I said I didn't
Okay.
say you got to
Yep.
start
Got
when
it.
you're 20.
Exactly. I I'd say if you are 20 years old or 120 years old, we all kind of need the same things. And the older we get, the more in tune we get with needing to at least recognizing that fact. But many of us sadly don't. And I think it comes from another sad fact is that most people spend more time planning parties, vacations, maybe a career business plan or whatever than they do actually in planning their own life. If you have if you intend to have quality of life, the only way you have quality of life is definitely not an accident. It's because it's intentional, because you have figured out, at least first you have to decide that just to make it a priority. Then you have to get the tools. And depending on how you grew up, you may not have very many tools of how to live quality of life. So you need to go get the mentors. And after you're 18 and out of the house, you have no excuses. None of us do, to get what we need to get when it's time to get it. And you have to then work on it. First, you have to figure out what materials you're going to immerse yourself into, and then you have to immerse yourself into it, and then you have to apply it, and actually work it into those goals, to where you eventually start moving in the directions that you want to go. And once you see the direction that you're going, it starts to give you clarity. This like, hey, I'm on the right track. And then once you're on that track, and you see the fruits of those labors, you'll never shift back, just because you can see that it works. It really helps to see that it works and just apply it and work that attitude, that philosophy of learning and personal growth and just discovery in everything that you do, in everyone that you meet, in all your relationships, A through Z, and everything that you do. And that in itself will create the right energies to put you in the right directions and connect with the right people, to where it's just a snowball in a very good way to continue to prosper more and more over a course in time. So, so what are these? What's a what was they use the analogy is that, turn your goals into dreams, with feet, right? So something that you dream about that's really important to you, turn those into your goals, and don't make excuses for them. If they're too hard, then break them down in smaller goals, and make those baby steps. And that way, in the end, you'll even the biggest goals, you look in the rearview mirror, it's like, wow, that was actually pretty simple. Now what do I do? And just keep doing that again and again and again, for as long as it takes to put yourself into the right space that you actually want to be. Not just financial, but of course you can do that financial, but you can do it with everything. And I did it with my relationships, I did it with my finances, I did it with my career, and on, from finding a mate and achieving a specific dollar amount, and having health and energy and attitude. Attitude is
Yeah, tell them how important attitude is to you.
attitude is
Is
ever
80%.
it's like 100%, because
Without it, you don't have anything.
exactly. And if you just have, simply the attitude of gratitude, it's fine. Having Just being grateful for everything that we have, no matter how hard our day was. If we just say thank you and find the lesson in it, it's going to make that day, no how matter how bad it is, okay. And then it'll pass. And then just take tomorrow is a new day. But have the right attitude to embrace the goals that you set for yourself, follow through, chip away at, be thankful for the little bit of progress, the tiny progress that you maybe that you did that day, but make sure that you actually progress a little bit, and that'll be fuel for your fire, for the next day. And then if you stay on that path, before you know it, you're so much further along than when you started, that it just makes life very exciting for you. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's good. I just really wanted them to get to know you. I think I'll have you come back as a guest on other topics because you have a lot of wisdom to share. I want to just acknowledge the fact that we know that we're shaded out in our faces here and that it's really not ideal to have the light behind us. But because of where I'm at, we wanted to highlight the nature in our background and share that serene, peaceful experience more than we were concerned about whether you could actually see our faces. So next time when we're on a podcast episode with the YouTube channel, we'll have good lighting and you'll be able to actually see Ken up close. So we did that intentionally, just so you know. And no, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for our friendship for gosh, 20 something years, 23 years. That's a long time. I don't have any friendship. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Kelly, I've got Kelly for 52, 53 years.
Yeah, thanks for coming and visiting us, Lydia.
Yeah. It's always my pleasure. It's so great to get out in nature. I want to encourage anyone who wants to go to nature and to see what the properties are. You can find them also on your Airbnb app. It's Lake Fork Farms, but also he has a website which is Lake Fork Farms Texas.com.
I think that's the website. It's
Yeah,
a new.
Google it. Is it considered Alba, Texas when they start searching? Does it show as Alba?
That's the town where
That's
we're
the
at.
town. So you'll have to look for Lake Fork Farms, Texas, in Alba, Texas. That's how you find it. And on that website, you can reach out, contact Ken. He actually does coaching via Zoom and telephone if you ever feel like you want to. Maybe you're in the military and you want to speak to someone who understands what you've been through in your language. So, Ken's somebody who can work with you on that. And do you want to say anything before we wrap it up?
Yeah, it's a military career. I've been promoted 8 times, and so I put quite a bit of time in the military and focused on that profession.
What did you finish as? What was your top ranking?
I was a captain.
Okay.
That's an 06, or the same as a colonel. But simultaneously, what comes to mind is that, I mean, if any of your audience has any specific questions, they could actually send you some comments and we can elaborate on those.
Yeah, send us questions for Ken, and then we'll come back on an episode and we'll do where we actually answer them.
Yeah, I can teach you how to castrate a hog, or dry.
Or grow chickens like you breed chickens, little babies.
Yes.
Don't leave your chicken coop open at night past 8. Your snake will get them.
Well, the predators will come, yeah, or operating a bulldozer, or doing engineering, or
your cow's pregnant. He knows how to do that.
All the above.
He's got a bull named Buddy. He's got that for 4 cows.
Yes, and but anything under the sun.
And he knows how to help you invest your money. He's a jack of all trades for sure.
And just remember about another thing. If you really have a very good therapist, the best one for us is somebody that helps us get unstuck. So if you're stuck in anything from A to Z, it doesn't matter what it is. Hit me with your best shot, and see what I can do to help you. So we can have fun doing something like that.
He loves meeting people. No one is ever a stranger to Ken, just like me. So don't be afraid to reach out to him and just get connected with him. He's generous with his time, but he's a busy guy. So he's going to be multitasking. He's probably going to be digging a pool or cementing a driveway or drywalling a new cabin. Oh, he's in the middle of a remodel of his bathroom right now. So you might hear a few drills while he's talking to you.
Yeah.
Because he's multitasker.
But I'll speak loud enough so you can hear.
Yes, he can talk over. So thank you all for listening today. And we just, again, want to thank you for being on the show. And will you come back and be on my show again?
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Awesome. All right. So you're going to get to see him again.
Let's do it.
All right. Ciao. Ciao from Texas. Bye.
Bye.